fall gardening. A fall garden can be one of the best gardens of the year, and I think it's worth a try. If you've never tried a fall garden, I certainly think it's worth a try. So watch this little explainer video. This first one is about growing fall tomatoes. The pluses, the minuses, the good, the bad. What about disease? What about pests and fertilization and watering and all those things. Really good, informative video. Again, packed into a small area. Lots and lots of expertise from some people that know a lot more than I do about it. Anyway, here's the first video. Think you're going to like it. About growing fall tomatoes.
Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you thought your tomato growing days were officially over in July, you are in for a massive surprise. Today, we're breaking down the exact step-by-step process of defying the seasons and growing an absolutely incredible fall tomato garden. Okay, let's just dive right into the biggest question beginners usually have. Is it actually possible to harvest fresh tomatoes in November? The short answer? Absolutely yes. See, while gardeners in northern climates usually just let their summer vines ride out the season until that very first frost, southern gardeners know a different reality. The extreme summer heat and humidity basically fry spring tomatoes by midsummer. But if you start fresh with a dedicated fall crop, you can completely turn the tables on the weather. It's crazy, but once you get them established, tomatoes actually thrive in the cooler weather of autumn. I was honestly amazed to learn that seasoned growers often notice their fall plants ending up significantly lusher and healthier in October than they ever did in June. To pull this off, we need a game plan. So we'll be covering 1, why you should grow fall tomatoes, 2, calculating your timeline, 3, determinate versus indeterminate varieties, 4, microdosing seedlings, 5, surviving summer heat, and 6, frost protection.
Right, let's get into section 1. Why grow fall tomatoes?
I mean, think about it. Why on earth would you try to limp a tired, diseased summer vine along for just a handful of extra fruits? Those old vines are completely exhausted. They've been battered by heat, humidity, and they're probably riddled with blight by now. By planting a fresh, vigorous seedling, you bypass all of that built-up stress and set yourself up for a pristine, gorgeous batch of 20 to 30 brand new tomatoes.
Okay, section 2, calculating your planting timeline. This part is actually pretty fun because it turns abstract timing into really simple math. You're literally just reverse engineering your planting day. You start at your average first frost date, right? Then count backward. First, subtract the days to maturity listed on your seed packet. But wait, remember that number is from the date of transplant, so you have to subtract another 4 to 6 weeks for the actual seedling growth. Finally, make sure to add a little buffer because fall days mean less daylight, which means slower ripening. To make it incredibly simple, you're aiming for a total window of about 110 to 120 days from seed to harvest. That magic number guarantees you have enough time to actually enjoy a generous, continuous harvest before the deep cold permanently shuts your garden down. Moving to section 3, determinate versus indeterminate varieties. For a fall harvest, you absolutely 100% want to focus on determinate or bush varieties. Here's why. Unlike indeterminate vining plants that waste precious late-season energy endlessly growing new leaves, determinates focus everything on rapidly ripening their fruit before the freeze hits. They reach a set height and just produce this abundant flush of fruit almost all at once. If you plant an indeterminate vine right now, you're probably just going to end up with 100 rock-hard green tomatoes when the frost finally arrives. Of course, depending on your region, you also need the right genetics. If you're a southern gardener planting in late summer, heat-set determinate varieties are your best friends. Varieties like Homestead or Florida 91 are incredibly tough. They can totally handle the intense heat of August and September. On the flip side, if you live in a cooler coastal climate, think the Pacific Northwest or maybe the coastal Carolinas, experts highly recommend the Legend variety. It was specifically bred for cool weather and has fantastic disease resistance. Next up, section 4, microdosing seedlings for growth.
Since time is completely of the essence here, you just can't wait the traditional 6 to 8 weeks for a transplant to be ready. And that brings us to a really fascinating technique called microdosing. It's exactly how you safely accelerate growth to get a viable, robust transplant in just 4 to 5 weeks.
The specific daily regimen is critical if you want to make this work without, accidentally killing your plants. You mix a highly diluted solution of organic liquid fertilizer, something like Agrithrize, and spray the entire tray of seedlings every single afternoon. But here is the crucial trick. You must immediately water the plants to wash that fertilizer residue completely off the leaves. If you don't, the sun will literally bake the residue and burn them. Oh, and a quick pro tip, skip the heat mats. The ambient summer heat is more than enough right now.
Which brings us to Section 5, Surviving Late Summer Heat. You definitely have to expect some summer struggles. I found it so fascinating to learn that when daytime temperatures stay over 90 degrees and the nights refuse to drop below 70, tomato pollen literally clumps together and becomes infertile. So, listen closely. Your goal right now is not fruit production. Your only job is just keeping the plant alive and healthy until the weather finally breaks.
To beat that brutal heat, opt for smaller fruit types like cherries or romas. They just require a lot less intense solar energy to ripen. If your garden beds are full, use large half-gallon containers so the roots don't completely dry out in 3 hours under the hot sun. Another neat trick is covering your seeds with perlite instead of potting mix to lock in that moisture. And finally, keep a strict daily watch for late summer pests like armyworms. They can literally mow down an entire tray of tender transplants overnight.
Finally, we hit Section 6, Frost Protection for Fall Harvests. The endgame strategy here is all about bridging a very specific gap. In many regions, you get a brief cold front that drops a light frost, right? But then, temperatures rebound nicely for several more weeks. It's like a false alarm. If you can protect your plants from just that very first brief cold snap, you are often rewarded with an entire bonus month of growing time.
And this is exactly why planting those compact, determinate bushes pays off. Simply draping some frost fabric or building a really cheap PVC hoop house over your raised bed easily bridges that gap. But here's one last piece of expert advice for you. Keep it small. If you only plant 5 or 6 plants, scrambling out at sunset to throw a blanket over them is super easy. Plant a massive farm row, and suddenly it becomes a completely unmanageable chore.
So, armed with the mouth to reverse engineer your timeline, the microdosing tricks for rapid growth, and the right frost covers, the only question left is, which seeds are you ordering today? Are you braving a homestead in the deep south, or maybe testing a legend in the cooler coastal air? Nature might try to tell you the growing season is over, but with these steps, you get to rewrite the rules. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we will catch you on the next one.